I have some afterthoughts about this vlog that I've just so we have 50 vlog posts in about 3 days, which establishes me beyond a reasonable doubt as somebody who's not a scammer, because a scammer, although they are quite focused on the unlawful activity that they're currently undergoing, trying to scam somebody else into the false belief of consistency in their relative environment. I have a consistent story that is going to make everybody gasp, and it's only a matter of time until this catches fire. Now, because the person with the most consistent story is innocent, but when you're looking at a 12-year track record of me fighting the psychiatrists about the use of medication and force and wrongful diagnosis and I was recently flown. It cost Canadian taxpayers 900. What was the amount? It was a cool number. $933.39, I think, was the charge that Air Canada charged the Vancouver hospital to fly me to Toronto with no home, no destination, nothing. The psychiatrist completely lied about the reason of discharge. The paper, I did not read it when I signed it. They slipped it under the nursing window there on the side of the nursing station at Seagull 8 Pavilion on the 4th of July in the afternoon there, because I was busy with my belongings from James at Vancouver Archdiocese. He was holding on to my belongings, and he sent them over in a taxi or something. I don't know. Somehow they got there. He had 3 hours notice, and that was all I could give him, because the flight out was going at 21:55, and I told him that. I actually told him that I was expecting to leave at 6, and the nurse told me then 6 is when she had expected me to leave. So it was a mutually agreed time. I ended up leaving around 7. So I was really busy with my belongings there, and then I also had pot on me. I had another ounce of pot, marijuana, inside the psychiatric ward. I was walking around, and I didn't have any time to share it with patients, though, because I really had a lot of belongings on the ground there in the hall. So I was really cleaning that up fast. We're trying to make it all fit. And then the nurse told me that I would be able to have one carry-on bag, and that it had like a maximum weight, and she worried that my big blue bag, which I've been carrying around since Siobhan Tovey in 1997. You know, I told that girl that I loved her, and she was 9 years older than I am. I was 19, she was 28, and oh my God. She had gotten into a car accident and damaged her hip, and was now a master's degree student at the University of Waterloo, while I was an undergrad student just starting my second year in 1996. The 1996-97 school year. And I would drop out of university by the end of 1996. I was studying earth science, and I'd been interested in rocks while I was growing up, but I would never really thought to study it at the university. I was actually really interested in flying. So I was in grade 7, and then a guidance counselor came in, and he made us all think that we were somehow mentally ill because we hadn't already chosen our career. It was retarded, and I thought, like, at that point, it suddenly dawned on me that, oh my God, I've overlooked something. Like, what am I going to choose as a career? I have to choose that now? Nobody told me. So this was grade 7. So then I looked around and I thought, well, I like speed, I like flying, I'm interested in that, so maybe I'll become a pilot. So I decided that I would become a jet pilot because they could fly fast planes close to the ground, which is what I had a dream of a couple of days prior to answering that guy's question. So then I stayed in Air Cadets, even though I didn't like it, but it was still my best chance to get into the armed forces. And on graduation in high school, I did get into the Canadian Armed Forces. That was actually why I became a Canadian citizen. I had to become a Canadian citizen just so that I could become a Canadian fighter pilot. And we'll forget about the fact that the planes carry bombs, because this has bothered me my whole life. And that was ultimately the reason why I chose not to become a fighter pilot. But I was on that path, and in 1995, when I was graduating high school. It's an interesting thing about high school. I mean, just interesting, okay? They were talking about skipping me a grade when I was in elementary school. They wouldn't do that with anybody now, but I would have welcomed it. The reason that it didn't go through was because I was a newcomer to Canada. In January 1982, we moved to Canada. It was cold. We moved to Scarborough. Rented an apartment there in the town housing complex. I went to Cedar Brae Public School in Scarborough. Town housing complex was off of Scarborough Golf Club Road. So at Cedar Brae Public School. From there, go to Scarborough Golf Club Road. Then make a right turn, and before you reach the next major intersection, on your left-hand side, there will be a housing complex close to the intersection, and that's where we lived. And I think we were in unit number 1. We had that corner unit there, and then people started taking things out of our garage. Like I had this pedal go-kart. I guess my dad loved weird things too. Anyway, it was the prize of the neighborhood, and somebody stole it out of the garage, and one of the kids thought, oh, well, he could just take it out of the garage and use it. I mean, they're kids. They don't know any better. No harm done. But when one person got knifed in the neighborhood, my dad said, that's enough. We're going to move up to Barrie. And so in the summer of 1987, we moved up to Barrie. Now, we... I'm plugged in. This is going to be a long video. We moved up to Barrie. Before we moved up, I remember I had a dream. The dream was play off the song Babylon. You know, I don't want to call them black people, but there's a really nice singing group. They're colored folks. It's an old group. Anyway, the River of Babylon or something like that. Anyway, the word Babylon triggered the dream, and the dream was me walking down the road with my family, and then all of a sudden there's a fence with a opening in it beside a building, and I crawl through the fence, and I go behind the building, and I come back out. My mom says, where were you? And I said, Mom, take me to Babylon. Come on, we can go that way right there. It leads right to Babylon. And my mom in the dream just said, no, what are you talking about? I don't remember. Like, she didn't say I don't remember. She said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, we got to go that way. And she said, no, we'll stay together. Anyway, so I knew that it was important that we moved to Barrie. Something was going to happen in Barrie. And that was 1987. My grade 4 teacher insisted to my mom that I was hearing impaired, so I should get my ears checked by a specialist. That partially inspired the ADHD dissertation when I was a master's student at the University of Wisconsin, which Alan Block supervised. And Alan Block asked me to add the part about epilepsy into that, which I did not, I really did not understand the association. But Alan Block truly was more aware of the mental health situation than I could have ever been at that point in my life, and possibly even now. He's a father. He's got two beautiful girls that are grown up now, probably in the 30s. And he's a Jewish individual, and he's a very, very outgoing, very outspoken is the wrong word for him, because much of what he's doing and saying is actually inspired. And the word outspoken has connotations that are negative. And when something is inspired, there's never anything negative. At the very least, what Alan was doing was getting me to accept that between accusing somebody of having an attention deficit disorder and accusing them of having a physical disability, there's no difference. It is an accusation, and the accusation begins in a split from a mind that both individuals share, and it needs to be healed. And that's where we are in society, and that's really what I'm doing right now and have been doing for the last 12 years. Now, in the trial, whenever I talk about in the trial in the past, I'll give a case number. This is case 13-205-SR, Barrie Courthouse, June 2014 trial. At the trial, my testimony was cut short, but I talked about there being a professional and a personal aspect to my life. Well, in 2012, when this began, I felt the craziest push to just type. And I remember I had a printer at home, Jamie Snyder. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie Snyder. Jamie Snyder was a high school student with me in the same high school. I had a very difficult time understanding people. Jamie was one of the individuals that well, let me put it this way. I have only respect for Jamie Snyder. I have only respect for him. He met me in Calgary when I think I had a place there. I had a house in Calgary, but I don't know if that was at the time when he met me there. Anyway, we were smoking marijuana together, and he said, they're going to legalize this stuff in Canada. I got to at least figure out what it does using my own body. Mind you, he was high when he said that, but you say the damnedest things when you're high, don't you? And that impetus to type came when I was high. It's actually, to understand that completely, it's actually the and now, okay, so there is that whole range of this is my personal opinion. However, I am telling you sincerely, guys, I have logically worked out life. So when I'm telling you my opinions, I'm actually not just telling you my opinions. I'm like, it's founded on logic. And so the seed of it will always be true. So even if you think I'm exaggerating, a seed of it is true. And that makes the whole of it true in court of law, provided that the exaggeration that you believe exists is not used to deceive you of any real good, like money or reputation or anything like that. And then also if I can show that it's for the betterment of humanity, I will always win the Canadian Constitution, Section 52. a requirement that the law is always consistent. So, in Canada, at the very least, I am talking honesty. Literally, what I am saying is new, but it is a new standard. I am raising the bar of attention and personal awareness and insight. My wife has just sent me a sticker. Now, this is not my wife. She divorced me so that I could be with another woman. But anyway, and the other woman has my birthday, which is awesome. And she's Muslim, and I get to unwrap her, and it's like a Christmas present. And oh my God. And I will take her and marry her as soon as I can. And give her money to be with her kids if she wants to not be with me. I have no further lust physical for this Muslim girl. But I definitely have the desire to continue to try my very best to better her life. And if the only thing I can do is give her money and we never meet physically again, then that is what I will do. And that is my sincerest wish for Mia. Her future is hers to decide completely. But she has my complete loving support, and I will help her in whichever way I can. And right now I'm living on my mom's couch. So she has to understand that I don't have any money yet. But she's also not in a dire circumstance where she needs the money. Otherwise, I'm sure it would materialize somehow. But she's remembered. Jamie Snyder is, with my sincere apologies, because I had asked him to hurry up and bring me my printer. Jamie's like, come on, man, just buy yourself another printer. And it's like, I'm sorry, dude, I bought my laptop and it came with a free printer and I left it at the store, and the store just happened to be in like Alberta and this is Ontario, and it was, oh my God. Anyway, the guy he brought me my printer. So like, Jamie, I owe you one. And you were completely in the right by tearing one into me. Like, what the hell, dude? Exactly, what the hell, dude? But you know what, Jamie? It causes me to remember you now. And even though Jeremy, who was our link, has passed because of COVID-19, and I have this really weird suspicion that he did not die of COVID-19. Oh my God, no. No, because of the way that he ended up in the hospital. They sent him back and they said, no, you don't have COVID-19. And then a week later, he's like, I can't breathe. Like, this is just not a cold. Like, I can't breathe. And then they brought him to the hospital. And then they laid him on his front so that his lungs would, like, not be crushed anymore. And that was it. Then I was, like, texting him while he's in the hospital. He's like, dude, I, like, went into the hospital. I thought I was going to get a checkup, and now I can't go home. And then 3 days later, he dies. And that's the end of Jeremy. And it's like, what? And then his mom goes down and she's like, God damn it, that guy, he kept saying, I'm going to live forever. And he didn't have the good sense to give me or tell me at least what banks he uses, because now I got to figure out how to pay for his funeral and all this other sort of stuff. And I don't even know what bank he uses. And here I am talking to Jeremy just the year before, and he was telling me about a separate account that he has separate from everything else, where he just keeps a little bit of slush money for him there, and he can use that to help me with. I'm not sure his mom found that or not, but anyway, it couldn't have been that much. He was saying that money was stupid too. But he was a really good guy. So, so there's that new disease that the coroner talked about, but that's just like medical science. Medical science just basically just accept that medical science has no clue what they're doing. And I think Jamie Snyder and I, we probably also agree on that one. However, the guy did become an ear, nose, throat guy, and I think I think that guy's like a leader in his field already. He learned a lot, he did a lot, he's always been open to new ideas. I mean, he has been inspired and living on inspiration, and now you have a credible doctor who strongly believes in spirit, even though he's never talked about it, never really thought about God before, but he understands that there are limits to the law and physical life, and they have to work together consistently. So he brought me the printer, and with that printer, then I printed off the page that when I was smoking up, felt compelled to type, and I brought it to John. John was, I don't remember the street he was living on. His last name was Serwick. He contacted me in 2011 through The Hugging Tree, which is a corporation I own in Canada. Best legal structure ever, I'm told I can say. I registered it, and he contacted me through, and I have a bunch of advertisements, pens, stuff like that. He contacted me through there that he needed some help with physics tutoring because he was on workers' compensation and they made him go back to school. And then we got talking about pot, and I said, "Oh yeah, I've tried that once when I was 19, but you see, you're never going to be able to match all these pieces up in my life that had led me to this point." But I had a moral dilemma buying pot because pot was illegal in Canada. I used it when I was 19 and I loved it. I used it again when I was working as a what is that job called? It was a treetop trekking in Horseshoe Valley. And my high school classmate, Alex Wilson, and I've mentioned him on Facebook posts, he's one of the few guys that has actually kept touch with me and just randomly asked me, how's it going? I've had terrible moments where I'm just looking at the question, how are you? And I don't know how to answer it. And I finally worked it down to, I can just describe whatever I'm in the middle of, and then I can say, how are you? So that learning part has taken me a very long time to cross and figure out. And so just when someone asks how are you, they're not trying to identify you with any kind of concept of you, they're you, nothing like that. I was just overthinking it way too much. All you need to do is just write down whatever you're in the middle of and then just say how are you. And the whole reason of somebody asking just randomly out of the blue how are you is because they care about you. And that's all it is. It's just a care. And it's the care comes from a memory of having had a good exchange with you, a good conversation at some point. And Alex had a twin sister, Elizabeth, and I was always closer to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth once told me that she always thought that we'd marry one day after high school. And I was like, Elizabeth, really? I had some interesting psychic experiences with Elizabeth, sort of kind of there. Like, I would be able to see the room that she was in, actually, when I was talking to her on the phone. That was really interesting, actually. I was really interested in that. And I guess maybe she took it as flirting, or that I had actually wanted to see the place where she lived. That's actually why I wanted to see the place where she lived, because I was seeing it in my head while we were talking on the phone. And that's how that whole relationship with her started. And since then, from the very beginning, she thought then that I was like hitting on her and courting, and I mean, anything is possible. I'm sure we can stick a couple timelines in there where we're married. I mean, we got along really great. No reason why not to, really. So some people would think about their physical bodies, the appearance of their physical bodies, as having an excess of fat and things like that. Please, please, okay? We are all the same logical operators of the same physical units. If you want a body that looks like Anna Nicole Smith, I saw her on the news today. I recognize that name. And also remember that she was fighting her own interesting dilemmas because of the harmful side effects of medication, and then using medication to alter her body on top of that. I mean, oh my God. No wonder she was confused in the bathtub. She's in a better place. And growing old sucks for everybody, so she's in a better place. Now, if you want a body that looks like that, you can. It's going to require a lot of readjustment of habits in the physical environment. And I'm talking, you have to give up your cravings to have all of the habits that you are replacing on top of replacing all of the habits. And then those cravings have echoes too. None of them are anger, but if you are not prepared for the change, it will bunch up as a download that's coming, that's showing you the way to get to your goal, but you haven't unpacked it properly. And that's what I call a compression wave, of a mental compression wave. And getting through that, it's going to express itself in the fourth dimension as anger. And in the third dimension, it's going to express its, and these thoughts are then coming from your fifth dimensional self. Just remember, all of the dimensions are equally not real, okay? But within the concept of defining mental disorders and things like that, and living a full and productive life in the third reality here, you have to consider them all as real. So in so doing, then you're also going to have weird things come up, like, have you heard about quantum teleportation and the computers that are able to do that now? They've actually been able to network that together. Now, when I was imagining all this sort of stuff. A network just means 3 points, okay? So you're taking from here, this point represents like a redirection or a turn or something, and then you're going to another point, which is over here. So if you want to just go from here to here and teleport it directly, how do you know where it's gone? And so recently, like in the last couple of years, they were able to verify the network, that it blipped in the network and then it went on. And this is faster than light. This is teleportation. They're only using qubits, bits, 1 bit at smallest unit, but they've demonstrated the ability. And in demonstrating the ability, they've opened the door for Star Trek style teleporters. What I'm doing is a Star Trek style hollow novel. Okay, that's still like contained to the hollow environment. What they're doing, it's pulling the strings of other dimensions, and it's got the attention of, I mean, if you're going to believe in dimensions, you got to believe in beings that have a resident real-time physical reality that is not exclusive of the third dimension, but overseeing. And from their perspective, to have the wool unsewn from their eyes. Sometimes I have a difficult time remembering what I was talking about. There are many ways that I can ask. Important, I find, is if I say just a few words to let you know what I'm thinking about, or that I'm even here. Tamara Williamson once, as my probation officer in Aurelia, in 2014 at the trial, case number given, the judge wouldn't allow me to show a police report dated the 4th of September 2012, authored by Detective Brian Reed, which shows that I was already arrested for the crime of criminal harassment on the 3rd of September. The definition of imprisonment in the Canadian Criminal Code is inclusive of hospital psychiatric wards, and the definition of a charge is when the police give some sort of testimony of there having been the accusation of a crime and ensuing name of charge applied. That police report legally allows me to say that I was arrested and charged for the crime of criminal harassment on the 3rd of September 2012 in Barrie, Ontario by the Barrie City Police. And then I was arrested again on the 2nd of March 2013 by the City of Barrie Police and charged with the same crime, inclusive of the time period that the first 2 months in the mental ward were supposed to have mediated. So I spent time in jail twice for the same crime. Now, the judge wouldn't allow the jury to see that. And then the judge told me not to interrupt the opening statements of the Crown. And then the judge proceeded to interrupt my opening statements 4 times. Okay, no problem, you're forgiven. Anyway, it's all part of the story. It's all part of what brings us to this moment right now. And going forward, I mean, I have notes and memories, and you can't challenge my memories in court of law because I've made too much of a scene of this. The scene is, well, for example, all the letters that I wrote from jail. They were bizarre enough that the psychiatrist photocopied them, but if they lose the photocopies, which the police did say they lost the emails in the June 14th trial, which is bullshit. Now they're just blocking me. Well, at least the argument with Natalie Uchin about if a person says something you don't want to hear, if it's that other person's right to just put a gag in your mouth, or if the other person has to just cover her ears. I think I'm reaching the turning point where I won that argument, but I did mention that I heard an echo back in 2012 that said, well played. Now, I do want to tell you how this started, though, and that has to do with John and the printer. And so John, I was 19, and I'm sorry, this is really just chaotic. I'm sorry about that. This is just how my thoughts go right now. So, check your charger connection. Okay, we're all right. Okay. So this is an interesting way. It was only half an e-pill, but it's still a very interesting way to spend the time with E-boy. When I took 2 of them, I was shivering, chattering my teeth, and sweating, stuff like that. So, oh, it's nice though. It's really nice. So, so the inspiration to even take half of an E. You have to understand yourself well enough to know that when you receive an odd thought like that, the odd thought is actually there to continue to set you on your path toward a goal that you may have forgotten that you made. But if all of your goals are not mutually exclusive, then you can rule out a lot and just go with the odd thoughts. It becomes like Quicksilver. Sorry, not Quicksilver. There's a special name for it. Quicksilver is Mercury. I'm sorry, not Mercury. It becomes like in Harry Potter when he's talking to Hagrid and trying to get some information from him, and then Snape awards him, not Snape, the other board's master, awards him this drink that is, anyway. So the drink does not make you lucky. The pills do not add mental health. I'm arguing with the psychiatrist about this for 12 years. However, the important thing to note was that sometimes to get at your goal, the most effective way there is not to do what you're thinking about doing, but to go with the other thought that you are covering up or pushing out of your head. I'll sleep eventually. So on sleep, though, the unconscious at nighttime is not separate from us, ever. That was a realization. All these things I'm saying, is textbook stuff. It's stuff of a textbook is the correct word. Because you're going to hear it one time and you're not going to understand what I mean, or it's not going to sink in. It'll sink in when you have the aha, and when you decide that you need to write down that you just had this realization. Then you had that realization. Right now, I'm just telling you. It's like bedtime story time. This is just stuff that happened to me. So John, my friend John finds out that I actually smoked marijuana, and also with the group of the tree top trekking workers. We were at the girl's house one time, and I missed out on that one. I mean, this girl was having orgies sometime. I missed out on that. And I contacted her too, and I said, please, it's my dream. But people just aren't so honest, Anyway, I was also a little older than they were at that time already, maybe 10 years older. Speaking of age difference, though, so Siobhan Tovey told her I loved her. Meant it. Just, I didn't mean it. Yeah. And then she felt very betrayed when she got pregnant when I was on my way to go traveling through Europe. Now, the betrayal was actually, she told me that it was safe and that it was very difficult to get somebody pregnant and blah, 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 blah. So I just shot inside her. And then she got pregnant. And then she wanted to give the child up to her brother, who was gay and wanted a child. And these were all really, really great ideas. And I was just I was 19 and I was locked in a state of fear. And I thought, this is like ruining my life and blah, blah, blah. I was just not able to snap out of it. Nobody instructed me about how life works. Like, nobody instructed me that Siobhan Tovey will become pregnant because she really wants to believe that I really love her, and if I still want to be with her and I don't want to have the baby, then she'll give the baby to her brothers. And I mean, if I really love her, she needs to, and I really believe that I loved her. But I was lying on her bed in March of 1997, and this was by far the most horrible month for me. And I was frozen with fear. As she would ask me questions, she would talk to me, and I would not be able to reply. I needed more information, is what I was saying, and she was not cluing in. And I was not being very verbal about my ability to command all of my environment. I mean, I was just a 19-year-old kid who, well, my 19-year-old kid is going to have a very different understanding of life, I'll tell you that. From age 3 on, he understood the idea that love always gives the choice. And the reason for that is, as love, you hold the scales of right and wrong, and you must give the choice of the action to the other person. But make sure that you phrase it in a way that you like both outcomes. And then give them the choice of option 3, which is their own choice. And do not be offended if they choose their own choice, because that will help you to hone your own ability to give choices more and more into an inclusive state wherein they will not run away, they will simply find silence. And that's what they mean by silence in the presence of God. So at that point, then you can just continue on with your own timeline plan, because you're seeing and hearing the ending arguments of other timelines that are ending around you, because you've taken control of not only your third dimensional space, but your fourth dimensional unconscious space as well, which is what you're hearing when you hear those echoes. It's the unconscious doesn't end when you're awake. The psychics are able to interact more fluidly with it. Ghosts, spirits, things like that are echoes in a sense, more physical, temporally misplaced. Also, I had an echo today that happened yesterday, August 3rd, where the psychiatrist tried to knock me off with confusion. Now we can say that it was all my own delusional thinking, and I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally fine with that. Everything I'm saying is just the rant of a delusional person. Totally okay with that. So why is there this rant of a delusional person on the internet after the doctors paid for the airplane ticket for this delusional person to leave the province so that he couldn't challenge their prescription, and so on and so forth? And you see like the Matrix code streaming down behind me there. Like, well, there is a passenger rights group on Facebook. I'm watching Fast and Furious right now. They really know how to put a lot of nice women into one movie that way. We just pass it off as being a guy. I didn't say anything illegal. It's okay. It's just, these are fleeting thoughts. Actually, I found a way to fix those thoughts. I'm going to mentally now vision taking my lottery ticket to the store and saying, and having the store owner probably tell me, it says you won, but you can't cash your ticket here. You have to contact the telephone number. So I'm hoping for some response like that. I don't actually check my own numbers. I just let the computer do it. I figure that's easier, and if you trust, you trust. Yeah, it's like that. It's just like that. It's exactly like that. And this. So I'm not sure how many entities I have with me, actually. I know that it's not singular. As a matter of fact, I know that the whole concept of space-time doesn't work the way that anybody knows. So I'm happy. It's quiet. It won't be quiet forever. It won't be quiet forever. It's going to be really... Once the public really gets hold of this, I imagine... this is the only way that you can really establish trust. Really, this is the only way. The only way to establish trust is to have a record on me all the time. And I don't mean like a criminal record. I mean like, give me a phone where the screen recorder, everything is wired, tapped, and so you can, like, on the internet, then you can show what I'm looking at on my phone. And then I need some people to protect my passwords and things, just to make sure that no other people log in. Because if I'm logging into those things on the phone in real time, my credibility is pretty much shot anyway. I got no credit rating. I can't even get a $500 Visa card. So money's not really interested in me. And I know the laws well enough that I can figure I could make a lot of money doing people's taxes. I could make a lot of money doing that. I'm not interested in money, actually. I'm not interested in money. I won $1 million in the stock market once, and it was a lesson in greed. I called it, to watch that go. But you know what a lesson in greed turns into? It's like the topsoil on top of a seed that you've planted that's going to grow up and turn into a beautiful fruiting, budding tree. And greed was just the topsoil, and you just had to get through it. And money is the dirt, the ground. But you're talking about something so much more beautiful than money. Money is a construct and a device of the fourth dimension, by the way. And the fourth dimension, just so that we're clear, is everything that goes on at night, all those thoughts. That's the fourth dimension. The fifth dimension, you're also part of the fifth dimension. But that's the awareness that the fourth and the third are never separate. To put it bluntly. And if they're never separate, it means you are never a third dimensional being. You're always at least a fourth dimensional being. And that means then that you are not bipolar. You do not have two logical extremes. You have one logical circuit that is eternal. And the point of joining of that logical circuit to the point of eternity does not appear singular, but as four. It's a reflection of the two logical ends in eternity. So you have two in eternity reflecting the two logical ends. But then in eternity, they have to be harmonious, equal. So then that's where the Holy Spirit, the carrier of the scales, comes in. So, but anyway, they come up as they are four when you're analytically reasoning out if you have sentience. Beyond that, and it does go beyond that. It's like shells, like rings around each other. I don't know how many I got. Unlimited. It's unlimited. But I'm aware of it. So people in people around me will get confused. Some people get really, really confused. Some people are my speed. They actually know what I'm talking about. But when I'm by myself, my mind is calm. Sometimes it can be wound right up to the wherever that individual is in their own mindset, because they've chased their own logical programming up so fast that they're having a hard time coming down. And I can talk them down. Other people are down at the other end. They are dementia patients, Alzheimer's patients. They just need an anchor, a real-time anchor. And then they need to rebuild the habit of focusing on that anchor. So my anchor is here. Okay, this is my anchor. This is what in the movie Inception was talking about with the spinning thing. It's they got some ideas wrong there. So the eternal moment is always real time. So if you're ever like lost, just come back to real time. What were you doing right now? What are you in the middle of? And eventually you're going to find out that there's a pattern of consistency that underscores the pattern of consistency that underscores the pattern of consistency. So that underneath all of that, there is constancy. And you have the awareness of all of that in you. And then working out the kinks of the inconsistencies in the environment on a worldwide scale becomes your job. And that's what it means to say you're called, you're chosen, blah blah blah. It's actually nothing like that. It's just you have the guts to stand up and say, what you're doing is not right. I think we should work this out so that it doesn't happen again. And then because you are helping me to work this out so that it doesn't happen again, you are automatically absolved of having done whatever you didn't realize was illegal. Which brings me to the Olympics. And when my mother called the Olympics guys on, there was like the 100-meter dash or something, the men's, and a couple of people, like it was happening a lot, enough that my mother noticed. They were hearing false starts, and then they were getting red carded because there was not the one grace period or the one grace exception of if you're too psyched up and you're actually falsely hearing a false start, or if somebody's actually making a false whistle. And to have two people in the same race pretend to hear it, and one of them I guess was in a different race, or maybe the same one, I don't know. It's a Canadian named Brown, but apparently this is a big thing. So you need to offer that first forgiveness. So don't give a red card right away. Just say, okay, yellow card, don't let it happen again. And besides, like, whatever happened to the yellow cards anyway? Yellow and then red. It's not just red right off the bat. So they're like, there's something dirty going on there. They're taking players out of the game that have a right to be in the game. And if that's what the Olympics has gone down to. Well, let's make a new Olympics. With enough people on my side. Former Olympians that have been unfairly disqualified. They would be the best people to fix the Olympics. And since the Olympics are always moving around anyway, there's no pre-planning really about that. It's just organization. And you can redo the whole organizational structure. Well, I just did a vlog in 3 days. Figure out that organizational structure. Now, this is actually, so the vlog, in talking about this, there are certain things, for example, vlog 42 is the same as vlog 42B, because I had accidentally, in my telephone here, found that I had numbered 2 videos, both number 42. And that was after I had already put, wow. Anyway, anyway, so our habits can change the way that our body appears instantaneously, even. Okay, all right. So we'll burn out impurities illnesses faster than others, maybe if our body is functioning more the way that it's supposed to, then sickness and health no longer become barriers to our constructive use in life, which is they never were. We just didn't realize that we were part of a bigger script. So either we take a part in writing that bigger script, or we become tools of it. And if we're tools of it, then we become like the people that died in the, I'm sorry to say this, 9/11. And 9/11 did not happen the way that anybody's thinking. Well, that's not true. Gary Renard knew. And he wrote it into his book, and then his book was published in the Netherlands, and then I met Gary Renard, and then he said, I'm having some serious problems publishing this book in the USA because blah, 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 blah. And then his new wife, Cindy, says, I was thinking you could help us with that. You know what, Cindy, I'm still trying, but we're working on it, and we're going to maybe correct a little bit of that record too, maybe sort of just like it as a footnote, okay, in history books, as a footnote at least. Money, oh my God. I haven't even talked about money in these vlogs at all. The Federal Reserve is a private bank. 2008, October, when the stock market crashed, I personally saw the 5 top bank CEOs of the banks that are too big to fail now were directors of the Federal Reserve. 5 of them. And it's a 7-seat board of directors. So right off the bat, it's a private company. The other 2 seats are the Federal Reserve private company gives these to the government to show that we're listening to your opinions. But the government shows that to the people as, see, we have a foot in the Federal Reserve and we are actively monitoring discussions and making sure that everything is okay. And they never let on the fact that the Federal Reserve took over the authority of the United States back during the Great Depression. That's what all that was about. And I got that off a video called Money Masters. It was a 3-hour documentary, and it was really, really well done. Yeah, they put the pressure on. They said, no, United States, you don't understand. We control the lending rates. So if all of a sudden we make it too hard to borrow money, then farmers will complain, and then the depression will follow. And then, I mean, they can just, like, so I described a bit of, like, the extreme outcome of that plan, and that's, like, the ability to take the whole territory of China. They have that ability now. And then to use Iran, I think, which is the country that is not connected to the banking system right now, to have that be like a new Zion or something like that. And they got all this mapped out too, because they weren't expecting somebody to just come up and throw a vlog on the internet in 3 days. But that vlog has everything that the media needs to verify who I am and have some, why is this crazy mental patient outside of the hospital, and why is nobody in the hospital caring about this guy at all? And what has this guy been through? And really, this guy has been through that much? And oh my God. And all the psychiatrists in Taiwan refused to give a high court an assessment about him? Like, how is that even possible? The short answer there is because all the psychiatrists are requiring brain scans in order to complete the forensic assessment, and the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual, which is the book that they're using, does not require brain scans in order to make the assessment, which I was asking the court to make. So, the doctors are saying that I don't suffer from what the other doctors in Canada were complaining about. Maybe, I don't know. We didn't get a chance to ask. They just they wouldn't provide the assessment, and then the court just wouldn't even let me have a trial. Forget the witnesses coming to show that I'm innocent. Just gone. And then I tried the paperwork process, but the prosecutors were adamant about getting me out of there. And the choices were basically pay a fine and then get deported or just leave. So I left. But I also, before I left, I sent a petition to the Constitutional Court of the Republic of China, leave that argument open, okay, so I'm not running away from anything. And also there's the 2021 Constitutional Court petition, which I had given them. I haven't linked this anywhere yet, and I should maybe do that. Anyway, it's on the internet. There's somewhere. I used to have a blog where I was trying to stand up for my rights in Taiwan against the Kramsko that was telling me that I was ruining their reputation. I was not ruining their reputation. They were lying. So, blah, excuse me. Anyway, I got squeezed out. And when I came back to Vancouver on the 8th of May, 2024, 5 days later, my wife tells me that my high court lawyer was arrested for running an organized crime syndicate, and money was found in the judge's office. Go figure. So I didn't have any money to pay anybody. So I was the patsy in that. Not the patsy. I was the tool. I was the commodity. Yeah, that's the right one there. Commodity. Anyway, they play their money games over there. But the problem is with Taiwan, it's actually the People's Republic of China. The mainland Chinese government that owns Taiwan, and Taiwan Supreme Law actually says that also in Article 4. They call it the Republic of China Constitution, because in 1947 all of China was unified in 1947 and was intending to become a democratic country. And then in 1949 the president didn't want to allow the people to have a public election, so he said, you have to vote for me. And then the people of China already had an army in place against him because he had started to kill communists randomly. Oh, sorry, there was a whole Shanghai massacre. He surprised. So the communists in Shanghai at the time, the communist supporters were actually human rights advocates. You should know this. Shanghai massacre, I think it was April 12th, 1927. Well, 2,000 human rights activists are helping the labor union to promote better working conditions in the sweatshops of China. I mean, this was 1927. And this guy, who is the supreme commander of China's army, comes along and says, I don't like this communist idea. It's making me feel like I'm going to lose my position as Generalissimo, which is Grand Supreme Marshal of the country, because communism is all equal and stuff like that. So, at least in the purest form. And he then killed the 2,000 activists, and most of them were unarmed even. Anyway, that is remembered in English as the Shanghai. And to Shanghai someone after that means to deceive someone utterly. Anyway, that whole expression in English came from the dictator who fled to Taiwan and then continued to brainwash 3 generations of people in Taiwan. That he was the rightful president of all of China. And they call that era the era of white terror on the Taiwan history page. So the Taiwan people agree that this guy was not so good. They don't really know how to fix it. They have a good working democracy right now. Some shady parts. Okay, so there's this president in Taiwan, and her name is Ying Wen Tsai, and that's the Chinese name. Now, when you translate Ying Wen into English, it means English, and Tsai means vegetables. So the students would just say our president is vegetable English, because her name means Ying Wen Tsai. So it's vegetable English. Vegetable English is the president of Taiwan, or was the president of Taiwan. Now, an argument came up. This woman, she claimed to have a PhD from some university, and a professor said, I don't think this woman has a PhD here. I mean, blah, 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 blah. And then, boom, he's arrested for seditious labeling, or seditious, whatever it is. It's talking down the government. This is a white terror dictator era thing to arrest a reputable college professor who's trying to say that the president has lied about her PhD. And I was thinking today, for all the thinking I was doing about writing my master's dissertation with Dr. Block, and not even being able to call him Dr. Allen, because I was so hung up on calling him Dr. Block. But he said, why can't you call me just Allen? Yeah, Allen. Hi, Al. It took me another 30 years to know that one. 20 years, I guess. 20 years to know that one. Boy, the things we don't know when we're young. Alan. He's a guy, just like I'm a guy. We're trying to make the world a better place. So I remember Alan telling me, hey, subject verb agreement. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, when you say, like, he runs, you have to put an S on run. You can't just say he run, I run. I said, you can't? So I was 25 years old, and finally somebody explains the rules of grammar to me. I did go to grade 1 in Canada. I mean, I moved here when I was in kindergarten. So somehow I missed the grammar rules. And that cleaned up my essay. He quoted a sentence I wrote. He liked it a lot. I guess he wrote it in his writing. He was giving me compliments enough to shake off the... everything else was just in my head. I felt it was going okay. Writing it was fine. I think it was fine. It was just long. Really long-winded. I think the purpose was just to tell people that ADHD has had many different names. That doesn't mean that it's here. Oh, well, maybe people thought that I was trying to say that it's been here forever. No, I was trying to say that the doctors right now don't have any idea what they're talking about. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job expressing that part, but anyway, it's been around for a while. So, so John finds out I smoke the weed, and he says, hang on. He goes into his bedroom, and he comes back, and he gives me this branch. It's a branch of marijuana. I had no idea that it grew like that or it looked like that. And of course, I had no idea that he's growing it in the other room. I mean, I had no idea. I just accepted it to say, are you kidding me? This is for me? I don't have to buy this now? I get a gift? Mental programming. Consciously cleared. Okay. So then I had this branch of marijuana. I put it right in the freezer because I was worried that it would go moldy. And I would portion out 0.2 grams, and I would have and I did all sorts of body IQ tests and this and that, like orientation. I'm using your words to try to talk to you. Did a school bus license as well while I was stoned the whole time and passed it. Yeah. So I recognize that by smoking marijuana, I am allowing the unconscious, which is always with me and which transcends dimensions, to take over my body or do whatever it needs to do to progress us as a team to the best next level in the game of life. So, while I was smoking this marijuana, I had this urge to start writing, and I printed this paper, probably the only time I used that printer that Jamie Snyder gave me. And I gave it to John. And John said, what am I supposed to do with this? And I said, my instructions were just to print it and give it to you. So he started reading it. And he looked up at me and he said, I don't get it. First of all, there's a lot of F words in here. But second of all, if you are who you say you are, where are the miracles? He had a good question. You know what a miracle is, actually? The definition of a miracle is found in the book, A Course in Miracles. So we're going to use a little bit of biblical stuff in there also. So the idea of heaven is when two agree. Where any two agree, heaven is in their midst, because if they find agreement once, they can find agreement again. And if they find agreement forever, they will be in heaven. If you figure out how to always find agreement, like John and I did when we were just chatting, he'd look past everything. He'd just say, where are the miracles? And I'd say, well, John, a miracle is an unexplained intermission in the normal pattern of events that collapses the need of time to reach the decided goal of all involved. And in collapsing the need of time, it's going to be like a snip, and you're not going to see it. So, when I win the Nobel Peace Prize and I get that medal, after having married Taiwan for bringing peace in Asia and taking on the copyright of the word God in Canada and thereby promoting international peace, because I am not God. Truly, I am not. And you got a whole vlog that logs that. Mm-hmm. My time is your time. My time is your time. We share one mind. So, I did see a column of light in 2005. Maybe I could tell you about that. Well, for rolling. So, I overheard this conversation when I was in my early 20s at the Barrie Psychic Fair. Aaron Stiles was talking to a psychic, and the psychic told him, "You will break your foot later on in life. You will have a very serious choice to make." And I couldn't help but feel that she was talking exactly to me. Of course, you don't tell anybody about that sort of stuff. So then when I had broken my foot in 2005 in August, and I lay in the bathroom wondering, why did I break my foot? Drumming on the door to let the pain go away because the doctor discharged me from the clinic without telling me that I had a broken foot. So I was actually lying at home with a broken foot, 2 incisions to let the hemorrhaging escape my body. My foot over a drain. I'm lying on the tiles, drumming on the bathroom door, trying to get the pain to go away. It's fractured in 2 places. So Lindsay's there with me, and she's not speaking so good English. I said, Lindsay, tell me there are bigger hospitals in Taiwan, not just this little place that I went to. Like, just please tell me. So, okay, we go in the morning, she says. Okay, you come back, pick me up, we go in the morning. So, we're figuring this one out. Confirm that 3 or 4 times to her, make sure we weren't misunderstanding each other. She picked me up in the morning, went, and I got a cast. Crutches and a cast. 2 broken in 2 places. Anyway, that night there, I was drumming on the door, and I had an out-of-body experience, and I had my answer as to why the broken foot happened, and it set me on a new path. And then part of that path was being able to hear the word Jesus again. I was in Canada. The word Jesus was just, couldn't hear it anymore. I didn't understand that it was actually, it didn't have anything to do with other people. It was just, I couldn't hear the word Jesus anymore. It was because people kept telling me that he died for our sins. And then they kept telling me to believe in eternal life. And I was, why are you telling me to believe in eternal life if you're telling me that the guy who represents eternal life died? So I just didn't want to hear any more about Jesus. And then I read John Penal's book. And I had picked up John Penal's book when I was 21. It was about Atlantis, so. But I didn't, couldn't get past the word Jesus in the beginning there. So I put it in my shelf in the closet. Many years later, broke the foot, thought about the book, had my mom find it and send it to me. And my mom, she was surprised that it was exactly where I said it was. And it did arrive within 2 weeks, very fast. And then I have had letters arrive remarkably quickly. One time I was trying to get my grandmother A happy birthday. Anyway, sometimes, we all, it's the spirit that moves stuff when it needs to move. Rain down a rooftop for all of us. We're all little drops. Sometimes we pull together, get around an obstacle. Rain down a rooftop. So, I don't say these things to distract myself. I say them to provide anchors for you so that you cannot experience what I experienced. So I read that book, and then after I turned the last page, I thought, wow. I read that book I was busy with work because I was a university teacher there in Taiwan. It's before my college days in King, Ontario, 2005, 2006. Chinese New Year in Taiwan is a whole week off, so during that week I started reading that book. And I finished at the beginning of March. And as I turned the last page sitting on my bed, I thought, wow, this is the best book in the world. What am I going to do now? Because I was really sincere about it being the best book. But I didn't recognize that I was already listening to that voice that the psychic said when I was 12 that I would be hearing. And there are many people that can already hear this voice. But we pass it off as just us. And it's actually better that way. It's better if we take full ownership of our own lives here. It's better that way. And that also makes this, by the way, the whole of the universe. So the aliens are especially interested in us because we're like an ant farm to them. And all of a sudden it's like all of the ants just got super excited and they're building something. And the aliens are just watching and they're like, what's going on? They see it all developing unconsciously before the conscious reflection. And I get that from Seth. He said that. And he's an unconscious entity. So they're out there. Yeah, they're out there. I mean, we're in the three-dimensional reality here, and the fourth dimensional is greater from our perspective, so the TV is saying welcome. Welcome, benvenido, benvenido. I'm not sure what the TV's doing. My TV's talking to me. So, so the compulsion persisted, and then I asked what it was. Oh, John Penal. The whole room disappeared. I was sitting on the bed, the whole room disappeared. I thought the lights had gone out. And then I saw what looked like the door was ajar. And there was like a light there, like a column of light. And when I focused on it, I realized it had a feeling. And the feeling that was coming from that light was just, it was a drop everything, go over there now feeling. It was my only thought was, if that's there and I'm here, why am I here? And in that moment, then I saw the answer. Oh my God. So when people like have NDEs, it's called near-death experiences. It doesn't mean that the people are just near death. It means that they've actually left their physical body for a period of time, experienced something else that nobody really seems to understand, then come back. So there's a whole variety of different NDEs. One, I heard a woman die and go straight to heaven. So depending on how clean your unconscious is there, that's where the Tibetan Book of the Dead comes in. It's preparing individuals for that transition. So if you're not prepared very well, such as I was not prepared well at all. I was like, it's like, what are you talking about? I'm going to die right now. So I had my past life review. Not my past life, I had my real life review. I had my real life review in March 2006. Oh my God, and it was horrible. Oh my God, it was horrible. The smallest actions, and I experienced it then from the other perspective, and just unthought. And you know what the kicker is? You know what the absolute kicker is? That the visions and the emotions and the seeing all that reflected from the perspective of the other, and it was just one after the other, after the other, after the other. There was just no stopping this until I dropped. And then when I dropped, I was in a puddle of tears, just, oh my God, I had no idea. And I swear I cried for 4 days. It took me 20 minutes or so to compose myself, and then after 5 minutes, the tears would start again. And it would just, 4 days I didn't go out, or three full days I didn't go out. And Christina's living upstairs, and I'm just trying to hide. And it's just, oh my God. Christina's Sanjay's mom. Yeah. Yeah, loved a lot of women. Mostly it's just the real time moment, being real. Just always be genuine and real. Always be genuine and real. Sex doesn't have to be anything special. And it means something special to some people. So when they have sex, and maybe, there was one girl I had sex with, tree planting. We were doing tree planting. It was the summer of 1997 in British Columbia, and she was from Terrace, BC. Anyway, I guess she had always been abused. And so in the tent, we were staying at the ski lodge, all of us on all different tents. So in the tent, and I got razzed at that because I left the candle on and they could see the silhouettes in the tent all night. So next time, no candle. Okay. But anyway, she cried because I was so gentle and just so responsive and really trying to maintain that connection. For me, that was completely normal, but for her, it was so unusual that she broke down in tears. So, sex can be very therapeutic for some people, but it's not something to plan. It's not something to plan. You don't plan to go to sex therapy. You go to sex therapy because you want sex, okay? Like, there's no kidding around that. And in our kind of culture, you would do well with more sex therapy shops. You don't need to call them body houses or anything like that. Like, just sex therapy, boys and girls, done. Go there and book an appointment. And then, so nobody has to man the bed sheets. And then services. You can choose what you want. And there are people from other countries that will come and do those jobs willingly and happily if nobody in Canada wants them. And honestly, it's better to do it safely than not safely. So, just don't hide it. When stuff gets hidden, it's like the guy that just died in the jail when he tried to tattoo himself. And then the jail staff and the doctors, nobody cared about him. That was Central North Correctional Center, I think. He died of blood poisoning a year after he tattooed himself. His teeth were falling out in the jail. Jail people still didn't let him see a doctor. That's Canada for you, okay? That's Canada. So we're gonna fix that. We're gonna bring care back to Canada. And vote.renee 4pm.ca. So I got a lot of other stories. Lots happened in my life. To try to write a book. I did. Book 18 says battery part 15 again. Am I just not sitting on it right here? Oh, I've unplugged it down here. Well, eventually we will. So I'm basically wasting time at this point. I have stories to share, but none of those stories matter at all in the preparation of this world to enter the age of true space travel, because that technology is already with us and available to the rest of us who don't have access to it. So it was said that our thinking has to become far more consistent before we're able to venture beyond our planet. Well, we're there. We're there. I am one consistent individual. I am not the only consistent individual. My job in this lifetime was simply to, and I've fulfilled my job. My job was only to affirm that our eternal mind truly exists. The book, A Course in Miracles, has done everything else. My whole job was only to affirm the existence of our eternal mind. And I have more than sufficiently already demonstrated that which we can now connect through other people, even if I'm living or not living going forward. The information is already there, and it's in courthouses. So it's not going to be wiped from the record. So this timeline is sealed. We can maybe going forward, I would suggest like maybe I'd do a little Chinese Father's Day and announce the idea of me marrying Taiwan. But that's going to require international intelligence agencies to suddenly cooperate. And you're going to find that the Chinese were already well aware of this, even though they haven't let on. And part of that is just communication difficulty. I mean, English is still relatively new over there. And honestly, in their defense, there's a lot of hatred from the West toward China. There's not a lot of hatred from China toward the West. Did you ever notice that? Did you notice how welcoming Taiwan is of foreigners and how accepting China is of leaving Taiwan just separate? Because China is struggling with overpopulation. From a logical perspective of a commander of a country that's struggling with overpopulation, are you going to put your focus onto a country that is more populated than you are or less populated than you are? And gold, Canada has a lot of gold in its rocks. I am aware of a multi-generational plan to bring Chinese nationals to Canada. And to the word infiltrate does not apply because the numbers are too big. The numbers too big. China's interested in Canada because they also share similar climates, so they're not. So they're interested in a partnership, real partnership with Canada, just to make things better, make the world better. They're not trying to take more land. No, not for them. No. They're trying to make use of the resources that are already there but untapped in countries, and work with the country to just not exploit the resources, but to find that balance, the sustainable balance. And Canada is suffering horrible inflation right now. From the mental health care dilemma that they've got going on here. They've accidentally let the psychiatrists rule the courts of law, and they've addicted most of their population to medication for mental health, and they're paying about $400 billion per year on that, which is adding to their deficit, which is just spiraling out of control. So money and the exchange rate in Canada is a big problem. And doctors are not going to be able to fix it. But I am offering a real solution. We can definitely tone back the meds And the diagnoses of the mental disorders, half of them are unfounded. Yeah, we're gonna have to pull that textbook apart anyway, like the mind perception stuff independent of the body, and then the brain stuff, which is part of the body. We will be able to have physical technology in devices implanted in us, and we will be able to use them use our cell phone like a remote control, like remote control in our brain using our cell phone. So we won't have to push buttons in the future and stuff like that. It'll just I'm not going to be able to mind control quite yet, like can't think the alphabet, but you can do the left and the right, and you can already do that. So think left and then think right, and then those are general areas in the brain, and triggering response as a way to, so they're zooming in on what parts light up when you think certain things, and based on that, what those they're mapping all that out. And but the brain is still an after effect. It doesn't produce the thoughts, is what I'm trying to say. The thoughts come, and then the brain is a show of the expression of those thoughts. And it's an agreed expression. So we've agreed to consider this body real in this real time. And accordingly, we are going to attach devices to our body to add conveniences to our life while we're enjoying our body in this environment. That doesn't mean that some other guy isn't going to come along in the future and just turn everything upside down again. That's going to happen. It's going to keep happening. That's it's called a systemic setup, where you are obligated to receive an upgrade, but it's like mail. You are obligated to receive the letter, but you don't have to open it. So if you don't open it completely, you're going to suffer anger. If you delay too long, you'll miss a window or an opportunity, and then incur an unnecessary hardship in your life. There's windows. There's a lot of windows of opportunity, and don't. When one closes, another one opens, but don't focus on the ones that you lost, because you need to get with it in the real-time sense in order to catch the windows while they're opening, so that you can fly an arrow through all of them at the same time, and aligning them. Yeah, it's the great alignment. And then I don't know how it all works. At one point I heard just as long as you're okay with being the guy that's always going to be clueless. So I'm the guy that's always going to be clueless. I have no idea. You think you can do it better? You tell me. I gave it my best shot. I'm basically done though. This is the 50. Brings on light blue now. I had to divide those numbers. It used to be a cool blue, but my cool blue is now number 7. So, just saw Bad Boys Ride or Die. I watched that movie. Started watching that movie. It was just the movie theater. A bit of a scene in the movie theater. My son is a popcorn seller, ticket seller, popcorn guy, behind the counter there, and it was my first day back, and I was just so happy to see him, and I was amazed that I was seeing him, and my head was spinning because I didn't expect to see him, and I woke up that morning and psych ward. No, I guess it was a couple of days later when he was already at work. But I spent most of my time around the back of the building just smoking up, because my mom didn't want to see me smoke marijuana, and he thought it was still bad to smoke marijuana, and I just wanted to be like, I just want to get my feet together. Phew! I arrived on the 8th of Vancouver without a place to stay. Spent 6 nights at the hotel on the ground because I didn't have a place to stay or money. And then I wound up at the homeless shelter and I spent a night in the emergency ward
pretending like I was waiting for somebody because I didn't have anywhere to stay. And then I spent another 15 nights in a homeless shelter. Then I went to a hotel for 17 nights. And then after the hotel for 17 nights, then I was 8 days as an involuntary patient because the psychiatrist didn't believe any of the other stuff that happened to me. And then they flew me back to Toronto. And then I'm sitting on the ground in Toronto after the year. The police escort me off the plane even. And then they let me go. My head was just spinning. So it's like all I want is just to smoke my bong and just like, where am I again? I'm in Toronto right now, okay. Honey, Lindsay in Taiwan. Honey, I'm in Toronto. Can we figure out like if my mom is like busy? Can someone help me? And then eventually we got me a bus ticket back to my mom's place. So I've been living on her couch ever since. It's been interesting healing that relationship because she did lose her house while I was in jail. On the accusation of criminal harassment. You got to get this, okay? So this girl accuses me of criminal harassment on the basis that I've dropped a flower, yellow rose, gift wrap book. Book was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And my card, a card that said Renee, so she would know it was for me. I was too chicken to wait till she opened the door, so I just left it on the doorstep. The date was like August 22nd or 23rd, 2011. It was a Monday. It was definitely a Monday. She had given me her number the night before at a spiritual cafe night led by Matthew Swain of the BLC Bistro in Barrie. And I texted it, and I was just really happy that I got her phone number. And then the reply came, "Thank you for using Bell Text to Landline." I was like, what? Who gives people a landline telephone number in 2011? And that was 2011. I'd be like, imagine it now. That was when I still had a telephone number. After that, I didn't have a telephone number anymore. Phew. I still don't understand why you guys want a telephone number. For me, a domain name, 2dream. So that's me now. And a few other domain names, but just all you need is one domain name. You don't need a telephone number. You just need a domain name. And then, so different. We look at this so differently. Anyway, what were we talking about? Right. Okay. Don't know. Natalie Uchin. So there's a second rose on Halloween. It wasn't the 31st, it was the 30th. And we were celebrating it at, was it 80 Bell Farm Road? Or was it 40 Bell Farm Road? It was there was a elementary school teacher she had a positive pathways on Bell Farm Road in Barrie. And the Community of Christ would run their Sunday churches there, I think. Anyway, it was a Halloween party. I gave her a white rose, and it had a note on it that said "boo." I imagine she threw it in the garbage. She didn't want to talk to me there. She said thank you when I gave it to her. And then New Year's Eve, we were at the Barrie Socials Club New Year's Eve party. My sister was there in attendance. So were a lot of the other people from the church. Chris was there. I don't remember if Bryce came, but Chris was definitely there. Matt was there. I suppose Irina was there. By Chris, I mean, he lived on Frost Trail. Chris Med, M-E-D-D. Anyway, I gave everybody at the table a blue rose, and then I gave Natalie a long stem blue rose, and that was New Year's Eve. Now, to the police, she only ever complained about the first rose and said that I was stalking her after that. But by stalking, she meant that I gave her 2 more roses. Well,
I stuck roses in 2011, but in 2012 she emailed me while I was working, and she said, "You want to come over to my house?" So I went over to her house after work, 9:30. She opened up a bottle of wine. It's just her and I in the living room. This is in January 2012. This is August, September, October, November, December. September, October, November, December, January. So it was 4 months after the first rose. She's inviting me to her house. Then she invites me to a spa date on the 28th of March. Blah, 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 blah. But we'd already been together as a friend circle, meeting once or twice a week for the last, a solid year at least there with Natalie. And then I couldn't get it out of my head, though. That was the really weird part. You couldn't get it out of my head. Like, it wasn't that I was obsessed with her. I was just couldn't get it out of my head. Stuck to me like fly tape. Do you ever have that? Like, you just, no matter how hard you try to forget somebody, you just can't. John, at one point, he said to me, "Will you stop talking to me about Natalie Uchin? I haven't even met the girl, and I already feel like killing her." So, I mean, this girl was, we were in a multi-dimensional argument there, and she really loved the argument. She loved the arguing. Well, so I guess I just needed somebody to wind me right up. Because when an honest person meets another honest person, and honesty means consistency, and it applies to itself first, then you're going to wind each other up. And we were both so consistent that we were both going to God, and we saw that same connection that one day over from the movie. After watching the movie, what was the movie? The Invention of Lying. I know we talked some about that. I saw her get the vision. Oh, it's Lily. Are you coming down, keeping us company? Oh, she's going poop, I guess. I heard that noise. So, hey, you. Hey, you coming over? Hey. I'm helping you. Hey. Oh, she's letting me pet her. She's oh. Yeah, so I forgot. Don't touch the back part. Sorry, she doesn't like the back part. Okay, well, we try again in the future. That was the first time she let me touch her. So she's, we're going to figure this out. Hang around the face. She likes it around the face. All right, I'll figure that one out. A little chin scratching here. Boy, she really stinks, hey? Anyway, litter box time. So that's basically me. I don't have a lot of extra thoughts now. I'm okay with that. They asked me if I would be okay with that, and I said I would be okay with that. A Course in Miracles says, mind wandering. You are much too tolerant of mind wandering. Well, so when my mind wanders, such as it has for an hour and 39 minutes now, does it mean if I am much too tolerant of mind wandering that I should delete this because it was all a ramble? And I should just be more consistent with my In the silence, you will know what God wants you to do. No. Because if you're using the word God, you misunderstand. There is only you. When you close your eyes, you are in your head. Everything you see and you imagine, you know is in your head. When you open your eyes, you are actually closing your eyes to the awareness that it's all in your head. And when you make that memory a permanent part of your day, you don't need special words to talk to people. You're more interested in listening to the people that are talking to you and learning their language and talking to them in the rules that they're accustomed to after you learn their language. Yeah, it takes a bit of time, that one. But you have the same ability as I do, as everybody else, because eternity, this is the beauty of eternity. From our perspective, we cannot imagine eternity, and so we cannot know for certain if it exists, except that we know that it does. So we know that it does because the world is always changing. Always means always. So we have to come to terms with that, and that will cause us to develop 4 personalities and a pilot of those 4 personalities and a pilot of the pilot, and then all of that becomes the flip side of here and now, what's really going on in life. So we have a mental construct of infinity now, separate from eternity, wherein logic can become self-perpetuating and sustainable permanently. Yeah. Was there anything else to add? There's, well, the beauty is if it hasn't been said yet, it'll come up again if it's important. But we're future tense. We're thinking about only going forward. The past doesn't exist anymore. It's an idea. It's like an ending argument. It is that gone. It is that gone. You are not living according to a predetermined future. All futures exist right now. Always. And where all futures exist, there's always going to be one best future for all. It is up to you to find that future in your environment. And when you find it, share it. Share it to make sure that it's true for everybody. Because as long as it's true for everybody, it's true. And then, because it's true, it'll consistently work with all the truths of all the other people. And very soon, there will be harmonious peace on earth. Systems should be put in place in government organizations where a supervisor has to read the individual memos of all of the workers up to, let's say, 10. Once a work, and let's use the small children ages. So a caregiver, I think in Canada and most countries, for young children can look after a maximum of 8. 8, I think, is the number. So the manager if the manager has more than 8 employees, then there has to be a different structure. Because it has to be a breakdown structure for this particular part, because each of the 8 employees, the manager should at the end of the week devote 5 minutes to reading a memo, 1 page maximum half a page from all of his employees, once a week, and just about concerns that the employee has about anything degrading the work quality. And the manager, if he's smart, will pay attention to the workers that have future-oriented ideas. Not to take those ideas, but to... and there should be a record so that the employee gets credit for the idea. But so that the employees that are the most broad-seeing thinking can rise to the proper places of responsibility within the organization more effectively. And the example of a misplaced employee is the nurse Mia in the Siegel 8, Vancouver Hospital, who won. While I was staying there from the 29th of June in Siegel 8 to the 4th of July, she denied me the right to see the law, to see forms, legal documents, blank documents that I would be signing, stuff like that. She denied me all those rights. And those individuals should be hastily removed from their workplace positions if they do not respect the equality of the law in that regard. I'm really sorry that this is so long, guys. I'm really sorry. I know that for the most part, it's just going to be the law enforcement agencies and stuff that are listening to this, but I just want to tell you, we're ready, guys. We're ready. Let it go. Give it to the media. Let it go. Let it go. Give it to the media. If you give it to the media, everybody will have already fair warning. Fair warning was given. Give it to the media. Everybody has had fair warning. The end. Give it to the media.